and we're about 50 some odd hours to the NFL draft, and it sounds like everybody's got it figured out.
Yes, and this time, Colin, it's ESPN's Peter Schrager who is reporting today that the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets are fielding trade inquiries for their early picks.
So what does that mean to
draft.
you? Not just for the for the Browns, but for the Giants as well. Where do you perceive that? So they're definitely fielding calls. They're answering the phone.
Correct. We'll start with Cleveland. This is the Brownies seeing if the juice is worth the squeeze to give up Travis Hunter and take the haul of picks. I think Cleveland, and I don't know anything, folks, I'm speculating. I think Cleveland is dead set on taking Hunter. They just want to open up and see, hey, is the haul possibly better than Travis Hunter? Because I think Hunter's pretty high on their board. I think that's what's going on in Cleveland. Now with the Giants, I think the Giants are probably the more interesting of the bunch. I don't think the Giants know who they want to take at 3. I don't think the Giants have a definitive person and player they want to take at 3. I think they are the more realistic team to trade back. I still also think there's a world we live in where they take a quarterback.
I do. You're still there?
I'm still there. I still think the emergency workout, I think there's something there. The emergency workout with Shedeur Sanders, I'm still there. And yes, they already have Jameis Winston on the roster. Yes, they already have Russell Wilson on the roster. But I don't think that's completely out of the realm. But if I had to tell you, if I had to say, I think the Giants are probably the more likely team to move out because I think Cleveland is dead set on taking Travis Hunter. I don't think that is a player like that at number 3 for the Giants, but I also wouldn't rule quarterback out of the play.
If I'm sitting there and I'm the Giants and somebody gives you a great pick or a great package, I'd do it.
Who are you trading?
Because it looks good for Joe Shane if he was able to take a pick and get a couple good players out of it, get some capital out of it.
That, but who are you for teams? And hear me out on this. Follow me on this. If the Giants are trading out, the team that's trading with them, what are they trading up for? They're trading up for a quarterback, right? That's probably the speculation.
Now, I don't know if 3 is definitely not where you do it, but Jacksonville's trying to get Ashton Genty. There's other teams that are probably going to flirt with the idea of getting him as well. I don't think there's anything to that, but if somebody wants to get the top edge rusher, Abdul Carter, that is a team that really thinks they could take another step with an elite pass rusher. If they think that he is the edge rusher from Penn State, then that would be a reason to go up there and get it. If you want to leapfrog, you're not doing it for the best offensive lineman in the draft, but you're definitely going to do it for an edge rusher or a game-changing offensive player.
If I'm comparing the last 2 drafts, which is unfair because there have been great quarterback prospects, right? But the last time we had a team trade up for a non-quarterback in the top 3 picks, Will Anderson, edge rusher. But Texans, they also drafted their quarterback the pick before that. They traded back up to go get Will Anderson. Kyle, I am still very much under the impression if the Jets and the Browns are trading out of the pick, it is for a quarterback. I'm going to stand by that. I think it'll be for a quarterback. It'll be a team that is panicking, and there's always a team that does this.
The one thing I'll say, though, is if everybody's so under the impression, and I'm not putting any stock into what any of these guys are saying, that Shedeur Sanders' stock is falling, why would you reach? Aren't you almost waiting with the breadbasket, hoping he falls into your lap?
That, maybe someone sold on Jackson Dart. I am under.
That is not worth the 3rd pick.
It's not.
He will be there
it's
at
not.
6.
It's not. But I guess at this point where I'm at, I think both of these quarterbacks will be taken by pick 5. I don't think so.
I think one of the 2 will be taken by 10.
Stephen A. on First Take a couple of days ago, and this is the second time I brought it up in 2 days, but no one understands. And to your point too, Colin, you're not buying any of this stuff. No one understands where the Shedeur slander is coming from. Isn't it fishy? Ain't it a little fishy? Mel Kiper has this kid as the number 1 quarterback prospect. And listen, it's Mel Kiper. I love Mel. But Kiper has him as the number 1 quarterback prospect. I'm not buying it. Bro, I think teams want Shedeur Sanders, and I think this is a lot of smoke. All of a sudden today, Cleveland and the Giants are fielding offers for 2 and 3. Why? Because people like Shedeur Sanders.
The one thing I'll say is none of these quarterbacks are, other than the Jets, and they're not even that anyway. We're struck out of luck with options. We have no options.
I think New Orleans is that team.
That's a potential.
My guess would be the New Orleans Saints, and I apologize, I forget her name. She does a great job on ESPN. She covers the Steelers, and she was reporting today with Greeny on Get Up that the Steelers learn from their mistakes on reaching on quarterbacks. They're not going to trade up. They're not going to do this. I still personally think Pittsburgh's not out of the realm either.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh also might be able to stay put and get some. Or the thing is, they're not trading up to that high. So if you're talking about trading,
they worked them out too. They worked out Sanders.
Now the Saints, that's under the impression that the Saints think that there's going to be 2 quarterbacks taken within that top 8.
Kyle, if I had to go 3 teams, Saints, Giants.
I don't think the Giants are going to get a quarterback.
Saints, Giants, Steelers, and I guess sprinkle the Jets in there because it's the Jets. It's a new regime.
So if the whole idea for Joe Schoen is to avoid being a laughingstock and to kind of not be laughed out of the building by the time you get to week 7, you're going to get 4 different quarterbacks under contract on that team.
But you gotta make a statement. You got to do something to save your job.
Is that we don't know what we're doing.
The statement is that we're bringing in a lot of quarterbacks. We're going to have a coach, and we're going to play the best one.
This is not a college program. You got to just make a decision here.
How much was the Wilson contract, though? Like, how much is going to set them back? How much is the Winston contract going to set them back?
It was cheap. Cheap.
But that's my point. You're going to bring in if Shedeur Sanders is an absolute nightmare, you have somewhere to go back.
Then why does Russell Wilson sign that contract? If he knew that he might be expendable and out before we even get to the second week of training camp, because they're going to get rid of him. They're not going to keep him around. You're talking about guys who are going to get dropped. Why does Jameis Winston take that contract? Why does Jameis Winston can go get another stable backup quarterback job elsewhere?
But it's a
they
backup
must have
job.
Sold him. Sure, but they must have sold him on the idea that he's all right. You're going to be our backup. Do you think
so? I'm under the impression that not a lot of teams are lining up to sign Russell Wilson after they saw him play for the Steelers.
Point being is that, I mean, the Steelers are right there, fine, but maybe he's a little struck out of options as well. But what are you trying to sell him on? He didn't necessarily need to go there. Probably could have flirted with the Jets. See if they. I don't think he wants to follow Fields, but the point being,
I hear you. He could have had a starting gig
elsewhere. There are other
options.
I have a hard time seeing the Giants trying to sell these veteran quarterbacks on the idea that you're going to jump into a 4-team quarterback room and we're going to figure out who the best one is.
Haven't seen the guy play a snap of NFL football. But I am fully confident in saying I think Shedeur Sanders is the better quarterback of those 3 that we just talked about.
I think the Giants are going to try to get in one position on the field or one group on the field, that defensive line. If something makes sense, if they're going to stay at that pick, go get another edge rusher. And then all of a sudden you get one of, if not the best defensive line, pass rushing group in football. All right, all of a sudden your world kind of opens up a little bit defensively with all those guys there. Thibodeau and Burns, and then you got him, Lawrence, the whole thing.
They signed a lot of DBs.
So all of a sudden, your world kind of opens up a little bit. And if you got a floor-raising quarterback similar to Russell Wilson, instead of throwing a rookie back there where sort of make or break, talk about losing your job. The quarterback starts to struggle, and all of a sudden the team's losing games. At least with Russell Wilson, you're trying to float. You're not trying to burst through the ceiling, but you're trying to float. It'd be a desperate move. I agree.
It would be desperate.
So if you're trying to show that, like, hey, we're not desperate, I'm trying to keep my job, I wouldn't go that direction.
It's a splash. Remember we talked splash?
I agree. You got to wow. A splash is Travis Hunter.
But he probably won't.
I think a splash is trading down and accumulating assets. That would be a splash. If they had a good trade down.
It's the boring thing.
But if they had a good trade down and all of a sudden got an extra first-round pick out of it, got an extra second-round pick out of it, and got another first-round pick in the top 10, and they still got a good player out of that,
there's the allure. And I think a little bit is because how good Jane Daniels was. And we could sit here, and I understand Jane Daniels.
You can't compare it to him.
Hang on, though. There's the allure of getting a quarterback and having him figure it out, and that is your trump card. That's your get out of jail for being there and having a job for another year. Kyle,
how many guys have died?
Brother,
how many
if
coaches came and went because of that specific ideology?
I hear you, but if Russell Wilson goes to New York, wins 6 or 7 games, those guys are gone. They're gone.
I don't know about that.
They're gone.
They go 7, 8, 9 wins. I don't know if they're doing that.
Gone, dude.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I agree with